numbers, Mason? What do they mean? Where were they broadcast?
I don't know anything about any numbers!
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're going boots on the ground into the future, a simulated battlefield, and space itself to rank every Call of Duty campaign. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 24, the portable entries. We'd be willing to bet you forgot these even existed, didn't you? Not that we'd blame you, but as long as there's a device that can adequately play a Call of Duty title, you better believe Activision will be there to monetize it. However, given the limitations of the portable hardware, none of these games are as functional or fun as their console and PC counterparts. All portable entries suffered from numerous bugs, glitches, imprecise controls, laughably horrendous AI, and completely forgettable and inconsequential storylines. These little skirmishes tried their best to emulate their big brothers in arms, even offering multiplayer and various additional modes, but even for a Call of Duty experience on the go, entries such as Roads to Victory and Black Ops Declassified are completely unnecessary and forgettable. Number 23, Call of Duty World at War Final Fronts.
Where is your weapon, Marine? Get over to that table and pick up a rifle, Miller. Double time.
Final Fronts is supposed to be a companion to the much beloved World at War, but partially due to releasing on the aging PS2 hardware, and partially because the title was clearly created as a cash grab for last-gen audiences, the game barely warrants the Call of Duty title. The game is incredibly linear and also incredibly short, clocking in at about 3 to 4 hours. And with a cast of new and uninteresting characters, the only real thing tying Final Fronts to World at War is its setting and the occasional cameo by World at War's protagonists. But even then, the game fails these characters at every possible turn. And that's at the bare minimum. With barely functional controls and poor enemy AI on both sides of the conflict, as well as a complete lack of extra modes, Final Fronts is passable at best and a complete waste of players' time at worst. Number 22, Call of Duty Finest Hour.
Done, comrade. Looks like I found myself in this one.
Call of Duty made a huge splash on PC in 2003, and a year later, the series' first console port arrived to much fanfare, but a lukewarm reception. As the first console COD game, there were understandably going to be some hurdles, but the game's incredibly poor controls, especially after we'd had the immaculate implementation with 2 Halo entries by this point, made playing the game all the more frustrating. Couple this with muddy textures and bland environments, even by the 6th generation standards, as well as an oftentimes unfair checkpoint system, and the overall experience paled in comparison to the genre's contemporaries. Finest Hour is still a fully playable COD experience complete with all the military campaigns players have come to expect, but one still finding its footing, taking its first steps towards greatness. Number 21, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 2023.
You have to fight them the way they fight us to win.
If we do, we've already lost.
Sister, together we can stop them like we did before.
The first modern entry on our list, Modern Warfare 3 objectively ended the reboot trilogy's momentum full stop. Whereas the original Modern Warfare 3, which we'll get to in a bit, brought the saga to a satisfying conclusion, the reboot landed with all the impact of an unexploded ordnance. The open combat missions were reused environments from Warzone, the campaign was ridiculously short for what was supposed to be a closing chapter, and nearly every other aspect of the title felt rushed or underdeveloped with endlessly bland and uninspired or engaging missions or objectives that failed to give its characters a meaningful or satisfying conclusion. The end result speaks more to Activision's yearly release schedule than the developers at Sledgehammer, who clearly weren't given enough time to develop a fully realized COD experience, especially one with the expected pedigree of the Modern Warfare moniker.
They got past us.
When that ant stop.
Number 20, Call of Duty Vanguard.
The whole world is burning. Sometimes, the only way to put out the flames is with more fire.
Sadly, another Sledgehammer-developed title, Vanguard attempted to return the series to the World War II setting of the franchise's origins, but rather than being a return to the series' roots, Vanguard gamified too much of the COD formula for many longtime fans. Adapting the traditionally multiplayer character class system into the campaign, with each playable character having their own sets of skills, didn't fit with the grounded nature of the entry setting. The non-linear flashback scenario of the campaign was also woefully underdeveloped, and is a familiar trope that has become so oversaturated in the series without any of its characters managing to stand out in any memorable way. The game's admittedly impressive and destructible environments and character designs couldn't save it from being designated as a wholly underwhelming, albeit short experience that was both too fantastical and ultimately forgettable to reach the same heights as other modern COD games before it. Number 19, Call of Duty Ghosts.
You start to forget the things you should remember.
Many consider Ghost the point where COD as a brand began to dip severely in quality, and while it's not as terrible as everyone remembers, it's still hard to argue with that assumption. As the first new major entry in the series after the conclusion of the Modern Warfare saga, Ghost did little to differentiate itself from the entries that came before it, landing somewhere in the middle of mediocrity. The smaller scale focus on a family dynamic was a welcome change from the big militaristic operations of the previous games, but beyond the intriguing setup, the gameplay was incredibly basic, and even the addition of the good boy Riley and reactive Fish wasn't enough to salvage a boring and forgettable campaign. The title has since been reevaluated, and there have absolutely been worse campaigns in the series, but Ghosts will forever remain the title that ended the franchise's winning streak.
A man who truly loves his country doesn't just give his life. He gives his sons.
Number 18, Call of Duty 2 Big Red One.
Go like this dog tags.
What's he sore about? I just said...
Hey, look, replacement. Just because you got that patch on your shoulder don't mean you're one of us.
While Xbox 360 and PS3 players were getting the big new Call of Duty 2, PS2 and Xbox players got the surprisingly solid side story Big Red 1. The developers at Treyarch made significant improvements across the board from previous console entries, particularly in the game's controls, and managed to tell one of the more compelling stories in the World War II entries. Taking cues from the Band of Brothers series, Big Red 1 follows one American squad through numerous military excursions, allowing players to form meaningful bonds with each of their squad members. Big Red 1 also managed to keep the campaign engaging with missions that took players through numerous military conflicts with boots on the ground and vehicular missions, keeping the pacing exciting and varied.
Get out of there! Fall back to the main bunker, come on!
The radio's up and working! Cover me!
Number 17, Call of Duty 3. The first mainline Call of Duty title not developed by series creators Infinity Ward, Big Red 1 developer Treyarch was handed the reins while Infinity Ward was busy redefining the Call of Duty series. Treyarch introduced new infantries to the series with Polish and Canadian campaigns, but mostly stuck with the familiar formula fans of the series had become accustomed to. While the devs didn't innovate much with their first big steps into the series, Treyarch did introduce some aspects with Call of Duty 3 that would become franchise staples, such as button prompt heavy objectives and a more interactive close quarter combat system. While these additions still didn't revolutionize the series, Treyarch still crafted a solid experience that tied over longtime fans until Infinity Ward returned to the helm.
This is the one, the Schwiener who drove us from the motherland.
Papa,
I thought you'd be happier. Who says I'm not?
Number 16, Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
My brothers have gone dark, but nobody knows just how far.
Unlike the previous two Black Ops titles, Black Ops 3 shares almost nothing with those games beyond its title. With a deep focus on cybernetics and simulations, Black Ops 3's narrative campaign becomes very confusing very quickly. Level design was greatly open for player freedom, as was the ability to customize your loadouts and abilities before each mission, and despite some impressive tech being utilized, especially with all the futuristic weapons and gears, the story never came together in any meaningful way told by an untrustworthy narrator. The campaign was also clearly designed with multiplayer in mind, incorporating many elements from the traditional multiplayer suite and encouraging players to build a squad to tackle missions, which sometimes led to unfair balancing issues for those playing solo. Overall, Black Ops 3 is a solid, albeit confusing, continuation of the Black Ops series that is more remembered for its ridiculous plot than anything else.
You still in there, John? Do you hear me? You don't understand. I'm taking us home.
Number 15, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Airfield's just up ahead. Let's go find this shithead.
Whereas Black Ops 3 had little to do with the Black Ops title, Cold War returned players to the world of backroom politics and espionage, reuniting fans with series staple Russell Adler, and which played to the strengths of its 80s setting and crafted a tense spy thriller with a focus on more stealth-oriented gameplay, rather than the bombastic blockbuster spectacle the series is known for. That's not to say those set pieces aren't still in the game, and the ones that do crop up will more than satisfy those with itchy trigger fingers. Cold War also gave players the freedom to uncover as much or as little of the plot as they wish, with numerous side objectives and a focus on RPG elements such as player choice that can affect the game's multiple endings. Although longtime fans might still have missed Alex Mason, Cold War was a welcome return for the Black Ops brand.
Rest assured, the entire free world will benefit. I know you won't fail us.
Number 14, Call of Duty. Medal of Honor walked so that Call of Duty could run. The first entry in the series that killed its competition, crafted by former developers of Medal of Honor Allied Assault, it's difficult to convey exactly what a game changer the original COD was. Implementing elements that would go on to become genre staples such as aiming down sights, multiple playable campaigns taking place throughout the entire World War II conflict, and even the simple act of crouching or going prone to avoid gunfire were all introduced here. Call of Duty also puts players right in the middle of real-life conflicts, adding further authenticity to the world Infinity Ward was creating. Even with the dated game mechanics and graphics, the original COD is still a heart-pounding experience that marked the first steps for the Juggernaut series today. Number 13, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2022.
Let's invite ourselves in!
All station ship is visual.
Copy! Press for assault, stay on comm!
The middle entry of the rebooted Modern Warfare series, Modern Warfare 2 is probably one of the best examples of what is possible in modern Call of Duty games. While not a direct retelling of the original Modern Warfare 2, the 2022 entry updates the storyline in meaningful and impactful ways with a greater focus on individual characters, and making improvements to gameplay and mechanics introduced in the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot. Stealth remains a viable option and oftentimes a requirement for numerous missions, and the series' trademark over-the-top moments are gloriously chaotic and full of intense action sequences directly in the player's control. It's a true shame that Modern Warfare 3 couldn't send the series out with a bang, but Modern Warfare 2 is not only an incredible reimagining of the 2009 original, but also successfully stands on its own merits.
Things take violence and timing. I can do both.
Number 12, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Captain's dead. Went down with his ship.
So who has the con, Gator?
I believe you do, sir.
Infinite Warfare received quite a lot of unfair criticism upon release. Whether it was due to oversaturation or the exhaustion of the Call of Duty series pushing further into the future, fans unjustly wrote Infinite Warfare off right out of the gate. This is a shame though, because despite jumping the shark and sending players on a planet-hopping space adventure, Infinite Warfare is a surprisingly solid experience bolstered by the series' trademark impeccable gameplay and interesting new mechanics. Giving players control over a single protagonist, command over a spaceship, and leading the charge against a massive conflict that threatens the entire solar system. Infinite Warfare gave players access to numerous new gameplay tweaks such as anti-gravity and even the occasional space battles in place of traditional vehicular sections. Overall, longtime fans who initially wrote Infinite Warfare off owe it to themselves to play through one of the franchise's strongest campaigns.
This place isn't yours anymore. Kill them. Save the bullet.
Number 11, Call of Duty World War II.
Get your head down and keep moving!
After the negative reception to Infinite Warfare, Sledgehammer Games was thankfully already hard at work at returning the series to its more traditional boots-on-the-ground gameplay and took the series back to its World War II roots. The appropriately named COD World War II was more reminiscent of Treyarch's Big Red 1 back on the PS2 and focused on a single platoon during numerous European excursions. This singular focus on one squad, bolstered by solid performances, allowed players to sympathize with their squad mates on a more personal level, amid some of the series' trademark large-scale battle scenarios. While World War II didn't offer much in terms of innovative new gameplay mechanics besides some squad commands, it didn't need to. World War II offered players exactly what they were looking for, a solid return to form for the series, grounded by its compelling narrative and relatable characters.
We are cogs in the machine, Joseph. We start going our own way, the whole thing breaks down. When did you forget that?
These are men! Our men! When did you forget?
Number 10, Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
I figured if I stuck around hell long enough, I'd see the devil.
How's he look?
The most recent entry on our list, Black Ops 6 continues the successful roadmap laid out by Cold War and not only makes important improvements, but also fundamentally outdoes its predecessor in every aspect. With returning series staples such as Adler and Frank Woods, Black Ops 6 is the franchise's most player choice driven offering to date. Not only do players often have complete control over how to approach specific missions, but there's sometimes branching paths that lead to different outcomes and objectives. In between missions, players can explore their home base and uncover its many secrets, furthering their investigation into the game's overall narrative, which takes numerous surprising twists and turns, including delving into some truly unexpected and terrifying territory. Black Ops 6 is by far the most complete and confident COD experience in years, and gives jaded longtime fans hope for the future of the series overall.
Great. You good to go?
Am now.
Number 9, Call of Duty 2. The entry that put the COD series on every gamer's radar and made COD a must-play, COD 2 is not only one of the most important titles in the COD catalog, but also one of the greatest World War II shooters of all time, full stop. Call of Duty 2 doubled down on the series' focus on real-world historical conflicts and true-to-life depictions of the many battles, including the iconic D-Day assault, and introduced the series' iconic regenerating health, which was a downright necessity to survive the numerous encounters with unrelenting enemy forces. Other series trademarks such as vehicular sections and branching pathways, allowing the player to flank enemy positions, and even one of Captain Price's ancestors still sporting his iconic stash. Even with its dated visuals and gameplay mechanics, Call of Duty 2 remains one of the most essential Call of Duty titles and the epitome of everything that made the series such an icon. Number 8, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Democracy. Democracy is not what these people need. Hell, it's not even what they want. America's been trying to install democracies in nations for a century, and it hasn't worked one time.
Advanced Warfare was the first title to truly move away from the more traditional boots-on-the-ground style combat and offer players a true power fantasy with the game's upgradable exosuits. Anchored by great performances from its leading cast Troy Baker and Kevin Spacey, and one of the series' most tightly constructed narratives, revolving around the dangers of the privatization of the world's militaries. Players were given multiple new gadgets through the game's many missions, and the ability to upgrade their suit gave a sense of progression and customization unlike anything in the series before, in addition to specific missions which allowed for more player freedom to complete however they chose. Advanced Warfare also significantly sped up the tried and true gameplay while offering more freedom of movement in levels designed with these new abilities in mind. Press F to pay your respects to anyone who hasn't checked out this gem of a campaign.
You give them that, and they'll follow. And that's where I come in.
Number 7, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Keep pressure on that wound! I tried! Hang in there, my friend!
Concluding the summer blockbuster storyline that started back in 2007, and especially without the original creative leads, would undoubtedly be a daunting task. But Modern Warfare 3 attempted to wrap up the saga in a way that would appease longtime fans, and by all accounts, they succeeded. The hype surrounding the potential of World War III and the conclusion to Soap and Captain Price's story meant that everything was at stake, and along with the increased pressure of the end of the world, the narrative and its many varied missions all felt as though they carried more weight than ever before. Modern Warfare 3 didn't add anything new to the COD formula, and it didn't need to. Everything fans had come to love and expect from the series was dialed up to 11, with bigger set pieces, full-scale battles, intense vehicle sections, and a satisfying and emotionally charged finale. Number 6, Call of Duty World at War.
Miller, you're okay. Thank God. We're gonna make them pay for what they've done.
Following up the wildly popular and critically applauded Modern Warfare the previous year was always going to be an uphill battle. But as one of the last World War II setting COD games, World at War remains one of the best. Making incredible use of its setting, World at War remains one of the most realistic and darkest entries in the series, dropping players into numerous conflicts on American and Soviet fronts without holding back anything about the horrors of war. Everything from the traditional large-scale battles to the quieter moments that felt more like a horror movie, World at War dared players to survive its world as everything in the game attempted to kill them at every turn. With immaculate performances from its main cast and the introduction of the much-beloved Zombies mode, World at War is the quintessential World War II Call of Duty experience that nails everything in its execution. Number 5, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019.
You have executed authority.
Bravo 6. Going dark.
Rebooting one of the most beloved entries in the entire Call of Duty catalog was a bold choice, but surprisingly, not only did the developers manage to revitalize the somewhat stagnant Call of Duty brand, through meaningful and important updates to the gameplay and story, almost reached the same lofty heights of the original. The new Modern Warfare wasn't just a retread of the same story fans knew and loved, but a much tighter and well-constructed update with returning characters like Captain Price, a much more grounded version with somehow an even more epic stash. The devs even managed to update and, to some fans, even surpass the beloved All Gillied Up mission. This updated version moved at a much brisker pace, with more fleshed out characters with important backstories and connections that made the typical mission structure feel more personal and akin to the gritty war films that games have always emulated.
The rules of engagement have changed. If you can't identify the target, you are the target.
Number 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Well, we got him, Mason.
Can't kill me.
Treyarch's espionage-focused Black Ops was a surprise hit for the Call of Duty franchise, so naturally a sequel was expected. This time, instead of focusing on flashback sequences, the storyline jumped back and forth from the 1980s to the far-flung future of 2025, with a branching narrative affected by the player's decisions in the past. Black Ops 2 was a wildly ambitious sequel, and introduced several new gameplay mechanics, not all of which were especially well received. The return of Alex Mason and Frank Woods kept the series' connective tissue going for longtime fans, and the introduction of futuristic tech and weapons would unintentionally spark the series' departure from the more realistic boots-on-the-ground gameplay. But Black Ops 2 remains one of the most complex and interesting player narratives in the series.
I'll surrender when it's done.
Number 3, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The title that revolutionized not only the Call of Duty brand, but influenced the entire first-person shooter genre and the industry as a whole. Leaving behind the realistic recreations of World War II, Modern Warfare focused on exactly that, the modern version of combat and warfare based around a compelling narrative with increasingly dangerous stakes, told by interesting and now iconic characters, as well as some of the most intense and jaw-dropping moments in the entire series. Infinity Ward managed to translate the intensity of the traditional World War II combat to modern day with all the intensity and immaculately designed action set pieces that were unlike anything seen in the genre before. Modern Warfare represented a cultural shift for the series and became the standard that all future titles attempted to live up to, with few ever coming close to reaching that bar.
You are going to be alright, my friend.
Number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Where are they broadcast?
I don't know anything about any numbers.
Black Ops arguably has one of the best and most confidently told narratives in the entire Call of Duty franchise, and it's not even close. Told through flashbacks by an unreliable narrator, the mission to unravel the mystery of the numbers was immediately engaging as players are thrust into the middle of the Cold War and the near constant threat of nuclear war. Treyarch also cleverly connected the Black Ops timeline back to their other masterpiece World at War, with the mysterious character of Viktor Reznov and his connections to a possible Russian sleeper cell. Black Ops' strengths came from its storytelling and compelling cast of characters, some of which are still part of the series even today. And although it didn't offer much in terms of innovative gameplay, Black Ops remains many fans' favorite entry even a decade later, and that's due largely to Treyarch's masterful storytelling and creative final twist.
It is over. We won.
For now.
Number 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Get up, Private Allen! Rangers lead the way!
Infinity Ward took the term go big or go home to heart when crafting the follow-up to their mega blockbuster Modern Warfare. After the shocking events of Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward managed to top themselves with iconic missions such as No Russian and Cliffhanger, as well as a shocking last-minute twist that left players with their jaws on the floor by the time credits rolled. Modern Warfare 2 went bigger in every aspect of their sequel while building on what made the original such a game-changer. The frenetic pace of the narrative, coupled with the frequent changes to gameplay as seemingly simple mission objectives continuously spiraled out of control into mad dash escapes and nail-biting firefights. Modern Warfare 2 remains the most replayable COD game of all time due to its variety of gameplay styles and undoubtedly set the benchmark for the series.
We got it, sir!
Good. That's one less loose end.
What was your favorite Call of Duty campaign so far, and what made it so special for you? Share your war stories down in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.